Hello and welcome to the Utah Puck Report. I'm your host, Jay Stevens. I'm glad to be here. Things are crazy. Hockey is blowing up, and it's everything we've ever dreamed of, and then it's overwhelming. So we've got a lot of stuff we're going to cover, and we're going to start just generally having more conversations about what's going on with the NHL. We're going to talk about just hockey in Utah, because now it's a big subject. People know who I am in the building now. Very special guest today to help me talk about hockey, Bill McCloud. Bill, a longtime friend of mine. You also have a podcast, right? A radio show?
I do, yeah, for the Utah Outliers.
Okay. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from, and when did you get into hockey?
Oh, man. So I'm from everywhere. I was a military brat growing up, and but I claim Utah as my home. I have for about 30 years now. And, I grew up here, I want to say, when I came here with the military, and I fell in love with hockey a long time ago, 1980. I'm sure we all know that moment. Miracles happen. So I really did. That's when I fell in love with hockey and came to Utah. And I got involved with hockey on a weird opportunity. I was playing roller hockey with some kids that played up at Weber State University for the ACHA team up there. And they were like, we need a water boy and a trainer. I was like, well, I'm qualified to be the water boy. So long story short, I was there for 8 years and learned hockey in a different way and became the general manager and game operations and a bunch of stuff. And it all just kind of started there.
Nice. That's awesome. I kind of remember those days. We had Yosh on last week.
Oh, wow.
So we got to really talk about Weber State hockey and just that poor kid. Like, I dragged him into it, and then he's never left, basically. He's been there forever. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with the Outliers and your radio show and your podcast and stuff.
Yeah, so I wear a number of hats with the Outliers. I do a lot for the organization. Right now I'm currently the housing coordinator, so I find all the players' homes, and then I'm also the game operations manager. And I'm the PA announcer, so I get to announce all the goals, and that's really the fun part of my job. The other parts are, 40 hours a week of begging people to do stuff for you. So, and I do have a podcast. I have a radio network. It's called the Hub Radio Network that I have with a buddy of mine, Brett Gash. Sure you know who he is. Yeah. And we have a variety of different DJs and shows on there. And it's a place really for DJs to kind of hone their profession and kind of try things out and determine who they want to be as a DJ. I have a few shows on that network. I've got the Outlier Effect, of course, and then I have one on Thursday mornings called the Brunch Variety Show. Nice.
Yeah, I've listened. I jump on every once in a while. I listen. I seem to always catch it right at the end. I hear you, like, isn't your wife always trying to get you to play Taylor Swift? Or?
No, I'm the one that loves Taylor Swift. So...
we don't have to tell everybody that.
No, we don't.
I'm just kidding.
Everybody knows anyway.
I was just in the other studio asking why we aren't playing the new Miley Cyrus song, so I have no ground to stand on. Have you heard that, by the way, the new?
I haven't yet. No.
Honestly, I don't even know if it's new. It just popped up on my playlist, and I thought it was Stevie Nicks. That's a different radio show. All right, so then you do your radio DJ, you do all these things for the Outliers. This is your pitch right now, like, why would somebody want to be a billet?
Wow, that's a good question, because definitely there's no perks as far as like they eat everything that you own. But
right.
I'll have to say I've been doing this for 3 years now, and the relationships I've made with these players and these kids that are in a transition in their life of where they want to be in hockey. One of these days, one of these kids is going to be on TV in the NHL or in professional hockey in Europe or going to college somewhere, and it's fun to be able to say I was part of that. Once you're a billet family, You're with these kids forever. I have kids that were with me 3 years ago, and they talk to me on a regular basis. Hey, how are things going? Hey, we want our championship. You build a relationship with them. They become part of your family, and it's a way for you to kind of give back to the hockey community in a way.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I saw as an opportunity to do.
So I just wrote an article for KSL Sports about, like the different tiers of junior hockey. I tried to explain it because now, like, everybody wants to know hockey. They don't get it. And when I get on the show and I talk about juniors, everybody thinks I'm talking about when you're, like Little League.
The little kids,
They don't get it, right? They don't understand midgets and mites, and we don't call them that anymore, but they don't understand what all that was. So I did an article and I talked about juniors, and I thought, this would be a good time to talk about billets too. And I kind of got into it, and I reached out to Mason Manick because I know he had such a good relationship with his billets. The billets that I had growing up, like, I was lucky enough to have some amazing people that billeted me. And I'm still friends with a lot of them. Though the billets that billeted me in juniors are no longer with us. But the ones that billeted me while I was trying to get into Shattuck, they're still alive and kicking, and it's been a very important part of my life, and they're part of my wedding. Mason's billet family from Portland came down for his wedding. Like, you become, it's family, and it's fun. And even if they don't make the NHL, or they don't, they become something, and you do get to be a part of helping them grow up. And I guess that's my spiel. Like, billets are important. It's fun. You have more involvement with the game. It's almost, like when you bet on a game, like, you're involved in it more. But when you have a billet or when you're building a kid and you get the opportunity to see, their ups and their downs and their struggles, and you go to the game and you're more vested in it, it's just a nice way to kind of get more involved, I thought.
It is. And the other thing I like to contribute to it is, I would think of it as, what would I do if I was sending my child somewhere in a place? Would I want them to be with a family like me, or would I want them to be in like a hotel, or be in like a dorm situation? And it's always answer A. You want them to be a part of a family. And I really think that a good billet can make a difference in a player's, their talent levels, how they play in a game, if they're not worried about stuff or where they're going to eat. And if they have a family to come home to, usually they play a little better. So I think it contributes to some of that as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Do you talk hockey on your radio show a lot?
No, every once in a while. Lately I have been, of course, because of all the NHL action that's happening in Utah.
Yeah.
But I used to have a show called the Utah Goonies, which you've been on.
Yeah.
We talked a lot of hockey on that show.
So are you not doing the Goonies anymore?
We had to step away from it for a little while. Frank Conti, my partner in crime, my other fellow Goonie, he got a job with that. A lot more responsibilities and travel, and so
I see.
It was just really hard to do the show and commit to it weekly. It really is. So.
It's crazy because I was thinking, I don't know if you've seen how many shows have popped up lately, but in the last 10 days, the last 3 weeks for sure, I would say there's probably 20 more Utah-based hockey podcasts, and like 5 or 6 of them have reached out to me and been like, "Hey, will you come on our show?"
Yeah,
and I'm fine with it. I think I don't know what I've never really looked at my contract here. I don't know what my rules are, but like, I'm fine helping promote it. And then you get some people that are, I don't know. It's just interesting to see. A lot of them don't really have anything to say yet.
Yeah.
It's funny to me how many so I thought, like, there's my podcast, there's your podcast. We're hockey guys. We've been around it long enough to know. But it's interesting. A lot of them are like, "Hey, we're just starting, and we don't know anything about hockey."
Yeah.
And so those have been kind of entertaining to listen to.
I think it's caused I think there's a craze happening in Utah right now, and it's everybody wants to be part of hockey, whether they know about it or not.
Yeah.
And they're willing to learn along the way, which is kind of interesting. So, I have seen a lot of those shows. I've seen a lot of Facebook groups pop up too, like the official NHL group of Utah. Like, okay, everybody wants to get that first stake in the tent, And so,
and they all have they have the names of, they've got really good podcast names or whatever, and I'm all for it. I don't want it to sound like I'm not, just because I've been here for a long time. I'm all for it. The more people are talking about hockey, the faster we grow. I'm 100% in support of it.
Yeah,
and hopefully they can find a way to make it work for them, because I know there's not a lot of money in it.
There's no money in it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Yeah. Not on my side of it anyway.
Same. And you do yours out of your house. I came to your house and you have a cool setup. I end up, like, during COVID, I ended up setting up out of my house, and there are sometimes, like, I had Randy Lewis on here a couple of weeks ago. He would have never came to a studio.
Yeah.
So the intimacy of being able to do it from your own home sometimes gets you way better interviews, but also sometimes the professionalism of having it in a studio like this gets you better interviews.
100%. Yeah.
So it's a balancing act. But
this is actually my first time in I call it a real studio. I don't call my home studio real.
This is a real. You're in a
the real deal.
You're in a multi-million-dollar building, and I don't know. I have 2 buttons. That's all they entrust me with.
Mine are all off. So
I don't even touch them. Somebody else touches all these buttons for me. But I grew up in radio. Been doing this since I was 12 years old, and it just gets cooler and cooler every year. So with all the hoopla and all the stuff going on, like, where's your head at right now with the NHL? What questions do you have, or are you seeing that you want answers to right now? Like, what?
Wow. We've been part of this process for years now, because those of us that are deep in hockey, we've heard the rumors for a long time, know, and we've all hoped and prayed and got on our knees, whatever you say, and it's happened. But I think there's a lot of questions out there, and, the big ones in people's minds is, what's hockey going to look like in this community, and how are we going to push that and embrace the community, come to games? And I think we answered that question with Wednesdays. that was phenomenal. I was there, and
Unbelievable. Yeah.
crazy. So it's nice we've got the community involvement, but of course the name is a huge question. It's on everybody's mind. The other thing too is and I think hockey, because the draft is coming up.
Yeah.
I want to know what players we're going to get. And I think it's an exciting time, not only for the inauguratory season of this, but players are going to be able to play here for the first time. And we've got some really good chances of not only making a playoff run, but maybe in the future, a cup run. So, I think a few of the questions I think I would want to know is like, who we keeping? Out of all these players, do we get to keep spicy tuna?
Yeah, you saw he's not signed. He did it. I think he laid down a pretty good case
so
to re-sign him. It'd be sad for him to be such a big hit on media day, day one, and then not re-sign him. All right, let's deal with question one first. Like you put them in order here. Number one, the response from the citizens.
Yeah.
And like you said, Wednesday night was phenomenal. The fact that they had, last I heard, they were at like 29,000 deposits for season tickets in a building that holds 12,000 unobstructed. Yeah. I'm not going to want to sit in one of those other seats, those 4,000. I've done it before. So I don't know how they do that or how they package that out, because the Smiths have talked about, doing package deals so that you can have like obstructive seats, but you only come to like 5 games or whatever. So they're going to part that out. They'll figure that all out. They have people that are, figuring out algorithms to make sure everybody gets the right seats. So I think that way we really showed up.
Oh, for sure.
And I was blown away by, I thought it was really cool just at the airport.
Yeah.
When the team's getting off and I'm there as media, but I was kind of just overwhelmed too as a fan, like as a guy that's wanted this to happen for a long time, just to see all those kids.
I think for me at the airport, the thing that turned me into a little kid again was you could see in the windows of the airplane, the players had their phones out up against the windows. So this was exciting. I think it gave them a level of excitement they hadn't had for a while. And it was really fun to be a part of that. And it made me a little kid again. You know?
For sure. So. And that's the other part of it too, is like, these guys have been just going through such crap. I don't want to say anything negative about the Coyotes, because, man, they did the best they could with what they had, the organization, but the players just not knowing every day and playing it. And it's a joke, right? Like to play in front of 5,000 people.
And that was maybe for a few games. Like they really didn't sell out.
Yeah,
so.
Well, and that's the thing. The building holds 48, and they said they were averaging 4,500. And, we were there a few months ago, caught a Red Wings game, and clearly the crowd was there to see the Red Wings. Yeah. And you've got such phenomenal players on what is now the Utah team, like Clayton Keller and Cooley and, all these guys. Bukestad, he's been fun to watch forever. But anyway, so that's just another part of the conversation. So the people have all shown up. We're good. We're excited about it. And I think we've proven to most people, like a lot of the reports talk about how Utah only has 200,000 people.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me.
Salt Lake City.
It was a big kick in the teeth for me personally, because every single time we would say we want a team, they're like, who's going to come and watch? You guys don't have anybody there. Not to mention that, but they're like, people don't even know what hockey is in Utah. And I really think that's always been something that's always just, gnawed at me. And
that's a garbage argument.
And then to see the overwhelming support we've got, I think answered that question overwhelmingly. Utah's ready for hockey.
Yeah, 100%.
More than ready.
One of the drama parts that came up too, I heard a lot of people complaining that they offered the tickets to the Utah Jazz season ticket holders first. And I was like, that seems kind of weird.
Is that really what happened? Or?
Yeah, and I can tell you exactly why. Because when you buy a season ticket to the Utah Jazz, it says you get first right of refusal for anything else that comes in.
Yeah. Nobody
knew there was going to be an NHL team. The owners didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, I literally sat down with Ryan Smith 2 months ago, and he said, hey, I'm going to get an NHL team in 2 years or 5 years, but I really believe we're going to get an NHL team. Let's start building this positive swell. And we talked about how we were going to do it and how we were going to grow youth hockey. And he's like, man, we only have 2 years to get all this stuff going. And then I was supposed to have my next meeting with him, and they called and said, hey, we're going to have to postpone that meeting because we're buying a team right now.
Yeah.
So there was just so many unexpected parts to that, obviously season ticket holders.
Has it ever happened that quick in the history of the NHL? I mean, Quebec to Colorado was years in the making.
Yep, that took years.
Everything like
the Jets all that stuff took time. It took 4 months, 5 months, whatever. So,
but it's history how it happened.
Yeah, with the sell being done, like he got a phone call and they basically had it done 10 days later.
Yeah, nuts.
And that's pretty impressive. And the funniest part of that story is how he never actually, like Ryan Smith never met the owners of the Coyotes. It was all done through mediation, basically. So yeah, that's crazy. The other part of it, and I know some stuff I'm not allowed to say yet, but they were going to build this major sports complex in Draper, and we were all looking forward to that, and we thought that'd be pretty cool. And now they're going to keep it in
Salt Lake downtown,
in the Delta Center. And I heard some Arizona Coyotes. I saw just yesterday one of the former Coyotes broadcasters was like, "It's a garbage building." I'm like, "It's not a garbage building. It's awesome, and it's going to be more awesome because the people running the show here have vision, and I think they have big plans, and they've said some of the plans. And the plan is to expand the Delta Center behind the nets and change the sight lines so they're all good hockey seats, and we'll be at about 19,000.
And I like keeping the Jazz have been downtown for forever. The Delta Center, it's like, it's kind of like Ryan Smith said, it's got good bones. And I think there's no reason why those bones can't support hockey. And I know it hasn't been the best place to watch hockey in the past, but I really love that he's going to find a way to keep. Because, you know what? That's another question. You move the Jazz to Draper. What happens to this place? And I really think the one thing I really love about what Ryan Smith is doing is he's not just thinking money in hockey. He's thinking, how do we incorporate this in the community? And he made the best decision, I think, to keep it in Salt Lake City and keep downtown alive.
I think if he moved the Jazz from downtown, the Salt Lake City would be a ghost town.
It's already a ghost town on a Friday night. Imagine it with no hockey or basketball.
Right. But now you're going to have hockey and basketball downtown. You're going to have more restaurants, more stuff popping up. You're going to have more people downtown. So I think you're going to see more growth. And I think you're going to see cleaner streets because they're going to want to keep people down here. So I think they're going to have to figure out some of the other problems that are going on, and they're going to build and make it better. So that's really all I can say about that.
I'm excited. I've seen some renderings of it. And
yeah, they're awesome.
I'm super excited to see it. And it's, kind of being here, I was here before the Delta Center. I got to watch games in the old Drum, And so when the Delta Center came along, and the thought, to me personally, the thought of nothing at the Delta Center and tearing it down, it was heartbreaking for me. And so when I heard the announcement to keep the building, it was really like a yes, kind of a thing.
One of the things I did talk to Ryan about it, I said, I appreciate it because he wanted it to be called the Delta Center again because when he grew up playing junior jazz, that's what was his dream.
And let's be honest, did we stop calling it the Delta Center?
Yeah, we never did.
But he did. We all called it the Delta Center no matter what.
I'm doing the same thing with USANA right now. I know they changed the name of it, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I know I should. But anyway, so Delta Center is going to be awesome, and now we're going to keep the tradition of the Delta Center. I think back to watching Golden Eagles games there. I got to come to a couple Grizzlies games there the year. I mean, they were playing in front of 17,000 then.
Yeah.
When they won the cup or won the Turner Cup back then. So that's that. Now the next part of it, I want to talk to you about youth hockey.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a big part. I had an opportunity to do the one-on-one questions with Gary Bettman. And everybody else had questions about this, whatever, the NHL and this and that. I'm like, we already talked about that to death. What I really want to know is what does the NHL bring to the table for our youth here? And he went in pretty depth. They plan on growing it at every level. And there are plans to bring more rinks here. There's one being built by you guys right now.
Yeah, up in Park City.
But the plan is to bring a lot more privately owned, privately funded rinks into this valley and create basically I know the plan. Ryan says he has 70,000 junior Jazz players.
Yeah, I think it doubled once he took.
Yeah, it did double when he took over, and now he wants to do the same thing with hockey. And he realizes that to do that, you need sheets and you need equipment and you need, it needs to be affordable for all these families.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, the aspect the NHL brings to our youth program here is a key one we need. I mean, we've got some talent that's developed here in Utah, but we could really use that bump of really developing kids into higher level programs. And, look at what Dallas has done. Look what Phoenix did for us. Look at what Vegas is doing right now. So I think that's what I'd love to see for our youth is having the people in the right positions to develop these youth programs in order to give them the skills they need and kind of the the recipe of how do you get to the NHL from Salt Lake City. And I think that that's a huge thing that I really do believe the NHL is going to bring to the Valley with youth hockey.
Yeah, because the answer to that used to be you go from Salt Lake to Colorado.
Yeah, you leave. So
yeah, and now I think we're going to do away with that. And I think there are definitely the right people. It's like everything's just hitting at the right time. Because I know they talked about putting a rink in St. George, and it just so happens that Gabe Gauthier, I don't remember how to say his last name all of a sudden, but he played at Denver University. He's been with the Vegas Knights, and his wife just took a big job in St. George.
Yeah.
So he's like, there's nothing here. Oh, wait, now there might be something here, and here's a guy that's been coaching youth hockey and helped grow stuff from grassroots.
Yeah.
And he's going to be in St. George. You've got Jack Skilly in Park City.
Yeah.
First-round draft pick, phenomenal hockey background. Jordan Parisi's up there. You want to talk about a hockey pedigree?
Oh, yeah. We've got Paul Taylor's up there, Kevin McCloud, too. I mean, they're both, they helped with the Dallas program. So we've got a lot of people here in Utah that are ready. I think now that the NHL is here, I think it'll bring the awareness and bring the public awareness that we need in order to get people involved more. So I'm excited about that.
I think you're going to see it grow on all levels. I think you're going to see ball hockey grow and roller hockey grow.
Yeah.
And you look at, just even last night, it is so crazy because everybody talks about Austin Matthews being from Phoenix. But the OT goal scored last night for the Leafs is another guy born in Phoenix. It wasn't Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
So what are the NHL just finds, and that's what another thing where people argue with me, like, oh, well, you got another NHL team that just waters down the talent. I said, no, that puts it in another market where you're going to find more and more talented hockey players like Austin Matthews or Zegras or these guys that were in markets that you wouldn't have hockey in. And you find these athletes that he probably would have been a basketball player or a baseball player or skateboarded and worked at on the Geek Squad or something.
Definitely.
But he found hockey, right?
Yeah.
So
that's what we want him to do in the end. We want him to find hockey, and I think hockey's, I still think it's one of the last true passionately played sports. It's not about money still. It is for a few players, but in the end, you score a goal in the NHL and it's almost like they're little mites again, and so
Well, and you watch a guy like Zach Parise, who signed one of the biggest contracts in the history of the NHL, come back and say, you know what, I'll play again for league minimum. Yeah. I'll play again I'll take one more year at $1 million instead of
like what Kane and Taves did to stay there in Chicago to get another cup. They both took less money. So I love that, and it's great that we have that atmosphere coming to Utah, and we're going to create some passionate hockey players, I hope.
Yeah, I went around singing the praises of hockey league players, and I told all the media here, I said it's going to be so much different than what you're used to with NFL and NBA. And I said, and I think part of it's because they have to get billeted.
Yeah.
I think getting kicked out of your house at 14 and living with somebody else and learning that at any minute, like if you're not a nice person and these people don't like you in their house, then you're out. And I think you grow up that way and you learn those values and you're appreciative of the fact that you get to play hockey for a living.
Yeah, I had a 16-year-old living with me this year. He had schoolwork and he had, and he was a kid. And we, it was hard not to look at him as a 16-year-old kid. Ryle Shevlin, he was the youngest kid in junior hockey in CDC tiers, had 5 points. But you wonder, would he have been as successful if he would have been like in a dorm situation and homesick and, and so it's really the billet. I think some of the Grizzly players are billeted. I mean, from what I heard, a couple of them maybe live with families, but I don't know if that's true.
I've had a couple live with me in the past, goalies. I don't know. Maybe sometimes. I know.
But it's important on all levels is what I'm saying. Like, you've got 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 18. Yep. Some of these kids on the Outliers are 20. So, and it makes a huge difference, just in how they perform and, what the organization is able to help them do. When
I think they grow up to be better athletes and they're not entitled. All right, so the name.
The name.
Everybody wants to talk. Madison, you got some, what do you want it to be?
Just say it.
I like Yetis best.
Yes.
You hate Outlaws.
I like the Yetis.
All right. So I'm currently doing articles. I've got each name. I'm going to do screen grabs of a bunch of the, because everybody's doing like their own jerseys and
I've
all
seen
the
some
imaging.
Of the
They've been
crazy.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Chris Lazar's. I actually had him make me a Yeti jersey that I was going to wear. Kind of the first time that I met
He played
Ryan.
goalie for one of my teams at the Oval.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he's a good dude. But I the first time I met Ryan, I was wearing a Golden Knights shirt, and he's like, "We're gonna have to get that off." I'm like, "What? You don't like the Knights?" I said, "You bring me an NHL team, I'll be wearing the underoos, man. I'll be head to toe in whatever it is." So I had those made kind of ironically, but then they didn't show up in time for that tournament. But so I was for Yetis. I do like if we just want to talk about the pluses and the negatives.
Yeah, for sure.
And like Madison said, the Outlaws started really kind of taking on some steam, but just like what's happening with the Pittsburgh Pirates, just like what's happening with the Minnesota Vikings, people are going to be like, well, that name has bad history because Outlaws
represent Billy the Kid.
They broke laws. They murdered people. They were rapey. They, there's all that. And that's what they're saying with the Vikings, right?
Yep.
And that's exactly what they're saying with the Pirates. And they're going after those names that have been here forever. And that's why, like, when I sat down with, it was the Vancouver Canucks, like 4 or 5 years ago, their management was trying to bring their AHL team here. And they're like, what would we call it in Utah? And we just sat there for like 3 hours. It was me and two of the GMs, like the general manager and the president of operations. This was before the preseason game. We just sat at the Delta Center and went through so many names. And I'm like, well, Utah's known for skis and bees.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, what about everybody that comes here is a powder hound? Like, that's what.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from. And that was the only one they thought didn't offend anybody.
Right.
But as soon as I said it, a lot of people were like, powder? What does that mean?
What's
like,
a powder hound?
Is that somebody that loves cocaine or something?
Yep.
So anyway.
I think the
Can
funniest
I say that on
one.
the radio, or can I not? Okay.
Yeah. I think the funniest one was when you posted the Utah
Phoenix?
the Utah Phoenix.
I loved it. I love
That
the
one
idea
was,
of it.
and everybody was like, "Yes!"
Yeah.
Like what a not only a kick in the teeth to Phoenix, of course, but what an iconic like from the ashes,
Yeah,
But,
I think that's the thing. Is from the ashes, and then let them be the Arizona Coyotes. They don't even have Phoenix in their name anymore. And then as a tattoo lover, the Phoenix is such a big tattoo for people that have been through a bunch of crap and have been able, like, you either, if you're a girl and you went through a bad relationship breakup, you get a butterfly. If you're a guy and you go through a bunch of crap, you go to the tattoo artist and you get a phoenix. And then, that crosses over. I know guys that have the butterfly and I know girls that have the phoenix. So I think it works both ways.
Yeah. And
I just thought that was the imagery could have been so cool. But again, I'm a tattoo freak.
I think Blizzard was tossed around a lot. That's kind of
Blizzard
a second contender. The Blizzard
really
with
took
the Z's,
a lot of steam.
with the Z's in it because of the buzz and
does
the
have the
jazz
Z's.
and
the
stingers.
Yeah. So the two I like the most, and I'll tell you the thing that I don't like about the Blizzard is, and this is pointed out to me, it wasn't my observation at first, but people are like, look, you already have the Avalanche, and if you're the Blizzard, are you just kind of being the Avalanche copycats?
Yeah.
And then if you're gonna go with the Yeti, and they had the abominable snowman.
Yep.
But apparently that mascot hurt somebody or something.
They haven't had this. They took it off their jerseys too. Like they haven't had that for a while.
They said like 15 years they haven't used it, and something happened with they had the mascot at the game. So I don't know what it was. I'll have to look that up.
And Yetis goes along with the Kraken. It's a mythological creature.
Yep.
The Yetis is a So I think it falls in suit with the new NHL kind of format. Maybe a little bit.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
The two that have really gained traction with me personally would be Raptors. Raptors is one, and then something to do with bees, like Swarm. Actually, you know what? I was really kind of leaning towards the Rattlers and stuff like that. I was kind of digging that. And people with the Raptors say, "Oh, well, Ogden Raptors." Well, it's
baseball.
I hate to say it, but it's minor league and it's baseball, and it's the same with the Mammoth. Well, the Colorado Mammoth have been around for a long time. Lacrosse. Nobody really knows, and once you put it out there and you're a major team, that's what everybody's going to associate it with. So I get that the Ogden Raptors have been here for a long time, but we have Utah Raptors. Like, this is where raptor fossils are found. So I thought that was a really solid tie. And that could be some really cool imaging.
I think the key thing with the name is you have to. I mean, he's up against the clock right now. I mean, people want to buy jerseys. I mean, right now it's a marketing like money storm, and if you don't have a name, if you don't have jerseys, if you don't have something to put on a shirt, you can't just sell stuff that says Utah NHL on it. I didn't buy one because I'm like, well, this is the NHL logo on it.
I looked at him and I'm like, I already have a lot of stuff that just has that NHL logo on it. But I like that he said, well, a few things that he said. Right after he signed the deal, for some reason he called me, and I told Madison, I said, hey, he's going to call me. What do I say? And Madison's like, ask him how he's going to go about naming the team.
Yeah. What are you going to name it?
And I'm like, so I got on the phone with him, and he's like, man, we did it. And we own a team, and it's coming to Utah. And I said, what are we going to call it? And he goes, It's too important to decide right now. He's like, it's just too important. We got to take time and make the right decision. And then he went on another podcast and he said, hey, I'm going to do the bracket style.
Yeah.
And they immediately said, oh, well, you'll get Slashy McSlashface or whatever. And he's like, nah, I can control bots. I invented Qualtrics. Like, that's his realm. He can run it. So at first I'm like, man, that's really weird way to do it. I wonder how many names he's going to go with at the beginning. I think we're going to know next week.
I hope so. I think everything I see points to like maybe a 6-name kind of a thing. Like,
I think it's going to be a bigger bracket than that.
Really?
I think it's going to start bigger and they're going to milk it for a couple weeks. But that still gives us time to have a name by the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
He said he would go with the season just called Utah. But man, you got to have something like...
And I think the lame factor, I hate to use the word lame, but everybody in the NHL, like, they can't even name the team. Like, you want the team there, and I think it makes us look a little bad. But in the same breath, I can see the importance of we want to get it right. We want to make sure, it's a collaboration of the people and the owners. And I like that he's doing that. He could just come in and say, I own the team. I'm just going to name it, you know. And so I think that really is a huge kind of character piece for him of how he's going to be with the community and kind of sets things up perfectly with them. Like,
calls it a community asset,
so,
and he seems to be serious about it, like letting him name it. Because, the Vegas Golden Knights were supposed to be the Vegas Black Knights, named after their owner's alma mater of West Point. He wanted to be the West Point Black Knights, but actually West Point stopped him from doing it because they already had a hockey team called the Black Knights. Yeah. And it's funny, I'm wearing a shirt right now, and I have a bunch of Black Knights stuff. With my daughter going to West Point, and I'll wear it, and people are like, "Oh, Golden Knights." I'm like, close enough. But now I don't want people thinking it's Golden Knights stuff. Now I want it all to say like, West Point or whatever. All right. So, what other names? So, Raptors, Rattlers, because we have rattlesnakes. I believe in that.
Stingers has gotten a little traction, I think.
Yeah, Stingers.
The Stingers, and
Swarm, like bee related. You can't.
Yeah,
you'd have. I want the colors to not be black and yellow. We have enough black and yellow. Pittsburgh, Boston.
Yeah.
I think we have enough of that. I really, and granted, I'm a purple guy.
I love purple too. It's my favorite color.
So I want. It's my favorite color. It's honestly, when I got a phone call I've said this on the radio before. It's pretty cheesy, but when I started playing, all of our equipment was brown, and then we started getting the color gear. And I was playing junior college in North Dakota, and I was currently using like white gear with green, like Kelly green stripes in it. And then I got the phone call like, hey, we're going to have college hockey in Utah. We're trying to get all of our people to come back. Basically pick whichever school you want to go to. You want to play at the U, you want to play at Weber, you want to play at BYU, or you want to play at Utah State. And I'm like, Weber State's purple.
Purple.
I think
That's why I
just started going like, can you imagine how cool my pads would be?
Yeah.
I didn't realize they weren't going to buy me gear though. Like I had to buy my own stuff, and I could not afford to get nice purple stuff. But yeah, that was one of like two things. They had a radio program.
Yeah, I remember. They have a great radio program.
88.1 The Beat when I was there. I don't know what it is now.
I think it's still the same.
But I helped get that back up and started, and just had a blast with it. So that was cool. But yeah, and then purple gear, purple mask. Wildcat on my mask.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm thinking as far as names. We want to talk a little bit more about youth hockey? Because I think we left some of that out when we started talking about like who's here to run it. And I think what you're going to see, and I hope that the powers that be are listening to this part, is that it's like $250.
Yeah.
And you show up and you're going to play your games at your rink, and you show up, you own skates and you own a stick, and everything else is provided for you.
Unless you call Don Korth.
Unless you call Don Korth. So I've had Don on the show, and that's a phenomenal thing he's doing.
The Korth Foundation,
my grandson, I'm old enough to have a grandson, by the way.
I have two of them.
My grandson's playing hockey in Vegas, and he's in the Knights system, and you pay your dues, you pay your fee, whatever, and they give you a bag of gear from Pure Hockey, and all you got to own is skates and a stick.
That's amazing, yeah. That's what we need, I think.
And that's exactly what we need, and I think that going forward, that's got to be the plan, and then they're going to keep building. The template right now is if you've been to Vegas and you've seen their double sheets, that each one of them works as a practice rink, which we need right away.
Yeah.
And I know our owner, our NHL owner, owns property south that he was planning on putting big stuff on. There's no reason he can't put a rink there. But I think you put the double sheet with the small 3-on-3 ice as well.
Yeah, those are huge because you go to youth programs on Saturday mornings and what are they doing?
Yeah, cross ice.
They're cross ice because they have so many players that are interested. What do you do with them? And plus it's a great way to develop hockey.
Man, I'll tell you, the first time I was ever on a 3-on-3 ice rink, I've told Madison the story before. I was in Minnesota with Zach Parise and Jordan Parise, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to this rink. We're gonna skate." And I'm like, "All right, cool." And I see this teeny little rink, and I'm like, "Oh, this will be challenging for angles or whatever." Plus, Zach's there and Jordan's in the other net, and then there's freaking Nathan McKinnon, Kyle Okposo, and I'm just getting
You're in trouble.
Like, one thing, I don't know where I'm at ever,
Yeah.
and you can't leave anything on those guys.
No.
And Nathan wasn't even, like, he was still in high school.
Wow.
He was still just a Shattuck kid that came out to work out with these guys. Taves was there. Like, it was cool to watch those big guys that were currently in the NHL. Taves was actually still in college, but I had a couple NHLers, a couple college kids, and a couple Shattuck St. Mary's kids, and we were all out there, and they're playing on that 3-on-3 ice, and they were playing hard on that 3-on-3 ice.
Yeah.
So if you wonder why they're so good in the corner now, or why they can make these moves, it's that ADM that everybody's been talking about from USA Hockey, that everybody was against at first.
Yeah.
Cross ice, blah, 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 blah. I grew up playing this way. Well, yeah, you grew up that way. And you grew up doing math the wrong way too, just like I did.
Yeah.
That's why everybody in the world's better at all that stuff than us. It's time to
I think
grow.
they say some of the greatest hockey's played within like a 10-foot piece of ice.
Yeah.
When you play zones and you play positioning the way you're supposed to, that, like, it's not full sheet. Like, most of your actions happening, right there, and like you said, in the corners and stuff. And so 3-on-3 is a great way to develop those skills. You're
the
constantly
kids get way
moving.
more on those smaller sheets. They get way more time with the puck. They get way more decision making. And JP Parise told me, like, over and over and over again, like, just let the kids play.
Yeah.
Stop coaching them. They'll learn systems when they get 14, but when they're little, just put them on little ice, give them a puck, and let them do their thing. Put other kids in the front of them, and tell it, like, in practices, you catch a pass, you make a pass, you have some kind of deception, and you take a shot every drill. But other than that, you just let them do whatever.
Yeah, keep them interested, keep them happy.
Yeah.
Keep them to progress in the sport.
Let them figure out. Let them be creative. They'll show you something maybe you didn't think of.
Yeah.
Because they're not coloring in the lines if there are no lines. Let them figure it out for themselves.
I'm definitely excited for youth hockey to blow up here in Utah because I think kudos to all the people that kept it alive too. Gosh, there's so many people, you can't mention all of them, but there's a lot of programs that have grown. I mean, look, they just started the program up at the Oval. I mean, and so there's a lot of people that before NHL came, and that's kind of what I hope we find a way to do is still keep those people involved, and because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go and come here and be like, I know what to do, I know how to do this, and so
that's true,
and so you're going to get a lot of people with a lot of skill set. Look at Utah as an opportunity now to come in and help run youth programs and make money doing this, like what they should be. And so I just really hope those people get to keep, some of those positions and stay part of it, which I'm sure they will. So
yeah, I hope so too. But I also hope, like, I don't know, it's going to be good to have more qualified people involved, because right now we have a lot of parents, and like I just try to get out of the way when I was coaching too. Like I knew that I didn't know a lot about defense, so I brought in Evan Stofflet to run defense. Or, like I was always trying to get somebody better than me to coach because I know I have limitations as a Utah guy.
I think the other really amazing aspect about youth hockey, there's so many avenues for players with developmental skills to go. We've got junior programs here. We've got the ACHA programs here with college. And so there's places for them to stay here and develop and farm up to some of these really good teams. I mean, could you imagine if someone from the Mustangs or the Outliers went on to play in the NHL one day, So they're junior programs that are, relatively new, but imagine like a huge blow up youth program here with some developing stars and stuff to move to those programs. And we get some local kids, that would be really amazing to see too.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see. The other question I asked Gary Buttman, and I think we'll just end on this one. I said, I've seen the NHL do feasibility studies with NCAA. So they went to like the University of Illinois, Chicago, Illinois. The UIC used to have a team, NCAA. And they went out and they paid the NHL paid the money to do a feasibility study to see if these schools could should be in the NCAA. And I asked them, I said, are we going to see the same thing here? I said, we currently have ACHA teams. We have 4. And he said, 100%. you're going to see that almost immediately because we want to grow the game at all levels. So it might immediately doesn't mean within the next 6 months, but probably within the next 18 months, they're going to sit down and look. And if you look at who's primed right now, and this has got to be just kicking BYU in the teeth. Because,
they just canceled their program.
Yeah, they canceled their program. So they're not really in the running, but the teams that are, Weber State, you have a double sheet on campus. It seats 3,000, whatever.
With expansion plans already, I've heard to add another 2,000 seats. So
and they've talked about that since I played there. Like they've always known it could expand. But and then Utah, and they've done all the groundwork.
They've got a double sheet as well.
And they've got a double sheet. I do not know what Steiner holds, but I think it's around 5,000.
It's a lot though. It's a big arena.
Yeah.
Like people, I think, because it's two sides, and I don't think people go in there and they don't think. You don't see a lot of people in there ever, so you don't think it can hold any, but it can hold quite a bit of people. But I have never seen what the capacity's there, but I've heard it's quite a bit.
I can't remember.
3,000 or 4,000 at least.
They were going to change that. I'll have to check because Steiner was the big sheet was Olympic.
It still is, yeah.
Yeah, so they'll need to change it. Even the Olympics is changing that. The Olympics is going to be on NHL size ice.
Yep.
So, because that's another thing when you're playing here and then you go to the Maverick Center. And your angles are so off as a goalie because you're used to playing on Olympic sheets. And then all of a sudden you think that one's going wide and it goes right in.
Yeah. And along with the college programs, we're forgetting about the huge high school program we have here.
Yeah.
And hopefully that pushes them a little bit more to make some varsity level sports on a high school level.
Yeah. And I'd really like to see that. And if you start seeing more sheets pop up, you probably could see that.
Yeah.
What I think, and I think this has been a huge miss for the Grizzlies, is they should be getting all the state championships, the playoffs and everything we should do it exactly like they do it in Minnesota and have it and bring your band, bring everybody from the school, have a section for each band and get those bands going loud and make it so it's a real big fun event.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the Maverick Center hasn't, I know Jared has tried in the past and I know he runs into obstacles and there's a bunch of stuff I don't get as a radio / firefighter.
There's a bunch of stuff a lot of us don't get.
I've never ran a Maverick Center or whatever.
Grizzlies.
But it seems like that's just a huge miss PR wise.
Yeah.
And I could see that happening at the Delta Center now. Because I played my state championships at the Salt Palace.
Yeah, I remember it was a big deal.
I lost 2 in a row there.
I don't think we need to talk about that.
I was just happy to be there.
Yeah.
It didn't scar me at all. I never bring it up. So anyway, I think that's it. I think we're going to see a lot of hockey growth, and I think all the writing's on the wall, and I hope people that are listening to this right now, like if you have questions or you have other ideas or you even have complaints about stuff now, get it out now. Let us investigate it and figure it out and see if we can't get it in front of the right people and start making positive change.
Yeah, I've really noticed that a lot. With the awareness of the NHL and all the stuff happening, you're getting some people coming out of the woodworks and saying, well, and you can obviously tell that their level of education in hockey is very low, which is okay. We want them to learn. And so I've really been kind of encouraged by some of the comments coming back at some of those people like, oh, wait, this is... And so I think a lot of people are learning about hockey, and those of us that have been here for a while are teaching them about it. So it's just awesome watching what's happening in the community.
And it's funny because, on the Utah Puck Report part, if I post something and somebody would put something up, instead of just attacking that person, which is what you normally see on Facebook, it has been way more civil.
Yeah.
And I get in and I had to hide some comments. I've never once hidden a legitimate comment. I only hide the ones that are like, oh yeah, the game's going to be on the net. And it's just some scam link.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about a game. We're talking about the fact that the NHL team's here and they're like, oh yeah, that game's on tonight. Click this link. So I'll hide that, but I let everything else go. And I've never had to be like, hey, you're swearing or you're violent. It seems like everybody's like, hey, we're excited that you commented, even though it may have not been the right comment, but this is how hockey is. So that's kind of cool.
I think we're excited someone else to talk hockey with besides ourselves.
Yeah, right.
Most of us in the community know each other.
That's very true.
And so it's really nice to have that fresh blood, I think. And so I'm excited about it to teach people. People call me all the time. Hey, now they're watching hockey. What does this mean? Why did they call this? So it's kind of cool to be able to be up in that upper echelon of people in Utah that know about hockey.
Yep, I agree. And now we're gonna have to have those little videos teach you about hooking and teach you about what a slash is, and we'll get those posted pretty soon too.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's the whole reason I'm excited. I don't care how many other podcasts jump up. I'm not threatened by it because maybe they do a better job than me. I hope so. Hopefully I can learn from them. But the more people talk about hockey, the better. I'm just excited it's finally happening. Anything else you want to say before you go?
No, just thanks for having me on the show. And, I encourage people, keep doing this. Keep the energy up. Let's, there's more than just the NHL here. And I think in the end, that's really what we want to communicate is, if you don't want to buy a ticket to the NHL, go see the Grizzlies. We want options for people, and we want them to be able to be just involved in the hockey community. We've got the Outliers and their new facility up in Park City for those people. So, we've got so much happening. The Mustangs just took number 2 in the country for NCDC, which is huge, their first year in. So lots is happening in Utah hockey, and I encourage people just stay a part of it. And if you have questions, talk to us and go be part of the groups, and, let's have fun and grow this.
And buy some skates. Go play. Yeah. Go play.
I'm hoping for some new hockey shops to pop up, honestly.
Yeah,
so.
I think there probably will be, and hopefully the ones that we have here will see a ton of business, and everybody just stays in business, and it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you think it's fun to watch, it's way more fun to play.
Yes, it is.
At any age, at any weight, at any I play with guys that are way overweight. I play with guys that are in their 80s, and
so do I.
all have fun. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good time. So in the next couple episodes, I'll have players on, I'll have the GM on, I'll have the coach on. I'm going to do more episodes like this where I'll try to get you back and we'll just talk about what's going on. Because we still need to talk about the Grizzlies and what might happen with them.
Yeah.
There's a few other things we should talk about. And then when they have, next week, we're going to find out what position Utah drafts in. We have a almost 7% chance of getting the first overall pick. Should be that kid out of Boston University.
Yeah.
But there's some really good picks after that, and it just depends on what we're looking for. And, we have 13 unsigned defensemen. We have 13 signed players right now, and then the whole D corps was unsigned. And we have prospects, and so there's
Not to mention what, a $40 million free agency?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And a lot of people will want to come here. So maybe next week we'll have you back, and we'll
anytime.
We'll have a little bit better idea of where we're picking, and then we'll look at all the picks.
Well, when you bring Spicy Tuna in, I definitely want to be part of that.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be.
He reminds me of the Kelsey brothers. I think he's like a lost Kelsey brother. You know what I mean? His personality and his big beard is big. Yeah. I think he's a lost Kelsey brother. He may want to do some DNA testing. Yeah. So
there's probably more money on the other side of that table. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Perfect. Well, Bill, thanks for being a part of the show today, and I got to mention the show today was sponsored by Chipman Roofing, and Braden Chipman. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know who they are.
Another hockey guy, and it's just one of those things. Like for me, it was nice to have. 2 years ago, I was selling my house, and the inspector came back and said, I think you got a roof leak, and you're going to need a whole new roof. And I was like, man, I need somebody I can trust to. I need a hockey guy or a fire guy.
Yeah.
And so that's my go-to every time. If I know somebody that plays hockey that does that, I'm going to go to them. And that's Chipman Roofing. They saved my bacon. And
not to mention he's a great guy.
A great guy. And they're
call him for business.
They're hockey
for sure.
people, and they're sponsoring the show. That's cool. It's been a long time. So special shout out to Chipman Roofing and just chipmanroofing.com, I believe. All right. Well, and that's it. That's the end of this episode. And again, we'll see you next week, maybe?
Yeah. Anytime you want me here, I'm here.
All right. That is the Utah Puck Report. Hey, if you like what you heard today on the Utah Puck Report, make sure you review and rate it wherever you get your podcasts. Also, follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. Get involved with everything we're talking about. You can find everything on KSLSports.com, all of our previous episodes. I want to thank KSL Sports for letting us talk about hockey. I want to thank my producer and my boss, Madison Heekhouse, for supplying us with the rooms and taking care of everything hockey-wise. And just help us build hockey. Follow us, like us, and let's make this thing go. And that is the Utah Puck Report.